The Western Conference Finals are not tied up to a piece now. Oklahoma City Thunder over 3-2 series lead over Zach's San Antonio Spurs. We're here to recap Game 5 for y'all on From the Nosebleeds. Let's go. So, Zach, your prediction from yesterday before the game kind of stands strong now. Of Thunder in 6, obviously Spurs are now down 3-2. Let's just get into it. What are your thoughts? How are you feeling?
Not great. Let's just say that I didn't want my prediction to come true. It definitely did, but it doesn't feel great right now to be a Spurs fan. You can blame the refs all you want. That's all the narratives that's being talked about. I hate that it's become a. Some people have even joked about it becoming a Tony Brothers versus Scott Foster series instead of talking about this being one of the greater series we've ever seen. But the officiating was bad. The officiating definitely didn't help. But the Spurs were even worse than the officiating somehow because I just there was nothing there was nothing there aside from Julian Champagny to like. I'd say Julian Champagny and Stephon Castle are the only ones who could hang their heads high after this loss because man, it was a disgusting performance from Victor Wembanyama. I want to come out and say it. He's my favorite player in the league, one of my favorite players ever at this point already, and it was a disgusting performance. I'd say it was easily the worst I've seen from him in the playoffs, and it just didn't look like from jump ball that he had it. It looked like he was willing to concede areas, concede space, play around the perimeter, play outside of the paint, and that's just not acceptable. That's not where we see Victor Wembanyama dominate. Like, sure, it's great that he can shoot threes. Some of his better scoring nights come when he's on fire from deep, but his best nights, his most impactful nights, come from when he's on the block, when he's in the paint, when he's just getting lobs, whenever he's creating chaos on the inside. And last night that just wasn't happening. Now, I do think a lot of this stems from the fact that Wemby's face-up game isn't that great, that he doesn't really have a set play style, or he's not necessarily the most physical guy, and when he can't overpower you, he sometimes struggles. But just outside of those flaws, I feel like it was just a rough outing from him all around, and definitely something he'd want to put in the past. I mean, we saw he didn't talk to the media after the game, which personally I don't blame him. You don't want to put out a bad statement out there after a loss like that. You don't want to let your emotions get the best of you. Say something that could hurt the team. Say something that can hurt you. Uh, if he's willing to take the fine, he's willing to take the fine. I think it was actually just a warning. That's what
It
Sham
was just
said
a
this
warning,
morning.
yeah.
But I don't blame him at all. It's his choice if he wants to talk to the media. But outside of Wemby, it was pretty poor, especially from De'Aaron Fox. Now, Cole and I talked about it before getting on the pod. I feel like I can't hate too much on De'Aaron Fox just because he's playing through such a bad high ankle sprain. But man, he looked awful last night. It's just not. It's not funny at this point. Yeah, he's clearly a valuable player to this team because he does cut down the turnovers. I mean, I believe we won the turnover battle last night. I want
By
to say it was
one,
at
it was
least
like
close.
50-16.
Yeah, no, the Spurs won the turnover battle last night, and I think a lot of that's in large part to De'Aaron Fox playing, and we've seen that over the last few games. But they clearly didn't win the game, and the Spurs' poor shooting was a reason for that. And De'Aaron Fox was a major benefactor or a major factor in the Spurs shooting poorly from the field. It was just an awful night. He looked zapped athleticism wise, which he has looked like for the last couple of years. He doesn't push the pace in transition. He's not a great 3-point shooter. He just kind of relies on these long twos, these pull up twos, and I hate it. I hate his scoring process. Now, I'm not saying get rid of De'Aaron Fox. I think I've been proven wrong on that. We are not ready to take that step yet without him and manage turnovers, but it it's not great, and he has to be better if this team wants to win. That's point blank. Period. Since I'm on the topic of guards, I thought Stephon Castle played great. I already mentioned him earlier. Uh, he had, I believe, 24,
24.
assists, only three turnovers. good
Yeah,
efficiency, hit three threes, got to the line a lot. Like that's what I want to see from Stephon Castle. And again, he just continues to prove doubters wrong about him as a player. Like the turnovers are definitely an issue, but I think like people don't realize this is a second year player who's already taken so many strides from where he was last year or even 2 years ago. Like this, he has progressed so much in the span of 2 years. Who's to say he can't progress more? Who's to say the handle doesn't tighten next season? Who's to say he doesn't get more volume and pull up 3 point shots? But I like I was thoroughly impressed with his performance from him. I have no notes about him. He's played really good ever since De'Aaron Fox has come back into the lineup, and that's including guarding Shea. Which getting into that, I don't really want to get into the foul issues later, but he did rack up 5 fouls in the game, almost fouled out, which obviously is not great, but it's taken him this far to get to 5 fouls in the series, I believe, which is kind of something I didn't expect. I thought he would be consistently in foul trouble throughout this series, just with the way OKC gets officiated. But shout out to him. He's thoroughly impressed me this playoffs. I think he's impressed a lot of people. I mean, I just remember we were in like Reed Shepard talks not that long ago, and where's Reed Shepard at right now? But
Cancun,
uh,
Galveston.
Galveston, yeah. But uh, going through the guards again, Dylan Harper. I I thought he was all right. I I'm a bit frustrated with his lack of aggressiveness, but I also like Fox. I think a lot of that stems from his injury, and he still has been a major presence defensively and been a presence on the board. So I can't hate Dylan Harper too much, especially for a rookie guard playing through an injury in the conference finals. Like I cannot get that mad at him. But like after game one, it feels like he hasn't been as impactful, as great. So I hope he produces a bit more in game six. But it is what it is there. Julian Champagny, like I mentioned, best game of the series. He finally got it going from downtown. He's so clearly a player the Spurs needed to get going, and he was a reason why the Spurs were in the game when Wemby and De'Aaron Fox were stinking it up out there. But man, I wish he performed just a bit earlier. I wish he showed up earlier in the series because you win game three, you win game two, it's a different series. So I can't complain about Julian Champagny at all last night. He's one of the few I can't complain about. Going down the list, Devin Vassell wasn't his greatest night, but even on his not so great nights, he's still ridiculously impactful defensively, offensively, hitting threes. Keldon Johnson had probably his best game of the series, and I still thought he looked majorly outclassed out there. I mean, I just don't think he's a valuable archetype in this league at all. He can't defend. He can't really shoot that consistently. His bully ball works sometimes, but uh, it's not good enough. It's not good enough to be a contributor on a team of this caliber, a team that's supposed to be of this caliber, supposed to be cut from this cloth. Like it's just not good enough. And I think the Spurs would be doing a massive disservice to everybody if they don't cut their losses and get rid of him for a better player this offseason. Now, moving down the list, Luke Cornett, nuns weren't there to bless him pregame, and that was fairly obvious with his performance. Uh, he's looked outmatched this entire series. That's just the bottom line. I don't necessarily fault him for that because I feel like he's just not athletic enough to compete with these OKC bigs. He's not as great of a shot blocker to deter them from go attacking the rim. And any center playing behind Victor Wembanyama is going to look worse without him on the court. That's just the fact of the matter. Victor Wembanyama is the best player in the world. He's arguably the greatest defender of all time. There's no filling those shoes. There's nobody who can step in there and stop offenses the way he does. But you can definitely do a lot better than Luke Cornett has done this series. And my biggest issue with him has honestly been rebounding. It just feels like it's been so poor. It feels like there's been so many rebounds that have fallen into his lap or he's had in his hands and he's just gotten ripped by these smaller OKC guards because he brings it down or he's gotten it poked away. He's been bullied inside. I mean, Isaiah Hartenstein has just dominated the glass. say all you want about how much he holds Wimby. He was still doing it last night, but he has been crazy, like ridiculously impactful throughout this series. And Luke Cornett hasn't really done anything to stop that, but neither has Wimby. So I can't hate too much there. Um, Carter Bryant actually got in, hit a three, had a dunk. That made me happy to see because Mitch Johnson actually was smiling like ear to ear when Carter hit that three after yelling at him last game, which I thought that was pretty cool to see. But yeah, that's basically it from the Spurs notes. Like they played awful. They didn't deserve to win that game. I hate the narrative uh, that officiating lost the Spurs the game because it didn't. The officiating certainly wasn't great, but the Spurs were just far worse than the officiating, and I hate to say it. But now, getting into the Thunder side of things, Shea finally had that performance where he looked like Shea, or at least a replica of Shea. Like it wasn't his greatest performance. I know he had 32, so people are going to talk it up, but he didn't have his greatest shooting night from the field, but he got to the line so much that it got him going at certain points. Like I believe in the second quarter, he really started getting hot once the Spurs started picking up these stupid fouls, like 50 feet away from the basket, and it was good on him. He found his spots. He got going at the line, and that translated to the rest of the team. Once he got going, it felt like the Spurs reverted to the Spurs that we saw in games 2 and 3, where they're just late in rotation. They're overly helping on Shea, leaving shooters open, and that was basically good night for the Spurs because Alex Curry Russo just can't miss from three. Uh, I just don't. I've run out of words. Like I saw a stat last night that Alex Caruso has had the greatest jump in postseason shoot 3-point shooting percentage since expansion, I believe, or since
Yeah.
the post merger era. Minimum of 50 attempts. Like he's up 18% shooting in the playoffs right now. I just it's unfathomable what Alex Caruso is doing right now, and last night even more so because it felt like throughout the first 3 games, Caruso was just getting a lot of open looks and knocking down open looks, which any NBA player should. But man, last night he did get his fair share of open looks, but he also got a lot of contested looks, and just everything was going in. Jared McCain finally he rose to the belt. Like I shouldn't say finally, but he rose to the challenge like he did in Game 3. No J Dub, no AJ Mitchell, no problem. Jared McCain filled in the starting lineup, and he passed with flying colors. He had like 2 points in the first half. Didn't really get it going, but that third quarter from Jared McCain, it was an awful watch because it felt like everything was going in. I thought I was watching Steph Curry out there. Uh, Thanks, Daryl Morey. I wish Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins were playing in this series, but thank you, Daryl Morey. Real great decision there. Like I have criticized Jared McCain in the past. Like I haven't thought he was like this world breaking player like many people thought he would be for the Thunder, but he's proving me wrong in this series. Just off his sheer I don't know how to say it. His sheer like maverick ability to take every shot, if you know what I mean. He doesn't care if it's a bad look, if it's a good look. He takes that shot, and that level of confidence, it it goes a long ways because when he's on, he is on, and I'd say if he wasn't playing for the Thunder, he'd be one of my favorite watches in the league. I hate to say it because I love the guy's TikTok, I love his personality, everything about him. Like I kind of think about that too. Like that goes into his shooting. I feel like his personality, like his confidence to be himself, just in life in general, goes a long way on the court. Like I feel like that helps him play with more confidence, if you know what I mean. That helps him take every shot. That helps him play with some a sort of fearlessness, and like I really admire that about Jared McCain. It's just God, I hate that he plays for the Thunder, and I know a lot of people have this same issue, but Man, it's going to be tough because I have to root against him. But yeah, going down the line, Chet had a better game. That I expected him to have a better game at some point. He still wasn't great. I feel like he was still like impacting the game like a role player, which has kind of been a standard this series because he's some people don't shy away from the moment. Chet Holmgren, when it's time to play against Victor Wembanyama, doesn't like the moment at all. He shies away the most from the moment. Now I know that sounds crazy for talking about a guy who had 7 blocks in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, a record by the way. But Chet Holmgren's impact, even last night when it was better, just was not felt. It really hasn't been felt. His defense is just all right. He plays better defense whenever Wimby's off the court. I wonder why. He plays better offense when Wimby's off the court. I wonder why. But just not great, but he played better last night, so shout out to him. Jay Will he actually hit a three, like he didn't do that last game. I don't know why I'm talking about Jay Will really, but he just came to mind. Especially at that moment, you see that moment when Wimby like shoulder checked Chet
Yeah.
and Jay Will's reaction, bro. Like I don't know how he has to be like like how there's canon events in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse in the Spider-Verse
Yeah.
series. He's like a canon person, an anchor being. That's what they call him in the MCU, like an anchor being, bro. He's always there when the funniest shit happens, bro. He's
He's a
always
modern
there,
he's a modern day Jeff T.
bro. He's like always there, and like I, whenever you hit that three, bro, he just started staring Wimby down, and he started like laughing at him too, bro. I was like, God, he's such a funny dude, but I hate everybody on this roster because they're so good at basketball. Like it really boils down to that. I hate them because they're good, and that's how sports are supposed to be. You should hate good players. You should hate teams that beat you. But man, they do have some funny guys. Queso again, he played really well against Castle. I felt like played really well against Harper. That was honestly my bigger issue with Dylan Harper was the turnovers. I didn't even mention it, but it felt like his handle was really loose last night. It felt like he was kind of careless at times with the rock, and he turned it over a lot. Some of those were Queso, some of those were Alex Caruso, but just not great there. Uh, so anybody else I haven't mentioned on OKC yet? And I talked about Hartenstein a bit, but yeah, his offensive rebounding was ridiculous last night. It felt like there was second chance points every time down the every offensive possession. There was second chance points for OKC.
How do you hate this guy, dude?
I hate all three involved in the video, but like I can't lie. It's for nothing other than their play on the court. But like I'm sure they're the greatest guys ever, especially like Jared and Jay Will. Jerry's out on Hartenstein. I'm kidding, but uh,
Yo.
yeah. Where was I? Hartenstein. Yeah, it, second chance points every time down the floor. It felt like the Spurs actually did a decent job contesting the first shot, but obviously every time there's an offensive rebound, there's an advantage created for the team that grabs the offensive rebound, and that was ever present last night. Especially there was a time where I believe it was Wimby or Champagne. I know those are two very different players, but they both missed a defensive rebound. Isaiah Hartenstein picks it up, tosses it back out to Kenrich Williams, and I'm like, that's money. And sure enough, that was money. And it frustrated the hell out of me because they were right there. And those are the things that you can't do, especially when a team is at home, when they're on fire, when they can't miss from three. It was frustrating to say the least. Yeah, that's basically it from a game standpoint. OKC crowd was all right. I'd say they still haven't felt that great this series. I honestly expected better considering it's their signature whiteout. They love those whiteouts in Oklahoma City. Well, Oklahoma in general. But
Yeah.
yeah, the crowd wasn't that great, but they don't lose at home. That's the thing. Like even if it goes to Game 7, I'm not confident that this team can win in OKC. Obviously, game one was one thing, but OKC's only lost 3 games at home in the last 2, 3 seasons, I think. 2 seasons. And they've
I
all
don't
been
know.
game ones. Like game one of the finals, game one of the
Oh,
semis last year
Denver.
against
Yeah.
Denver, and game one against us. Like they don't lose when it comes to these later
And all
later
those games
series
came down to
games.
like the last shot or
Yeah,
double
true.
overtime game.
Well, yeah, game winner from Aaron Gordon, game winner from Hallie and Wimby.
Yeah.
They just leave it at that. They don't lose at home, and that's going to be to the Spurs' detriment in the series if they can't win on the road. And I meant to mention it yesterday, but I feel like OKC hasn't lost back-to-back games since 2024, maybe since before that. Like this team just does not lose back-to-back games in the playoffs. It's hard enough to make them lose back-to-back in the regular season. Spurs have done it. Uh, Oddly enough, I was thinking back to it. The Spurs actually, if you remember correctly, December 23rd, I was in attendance in the Frost Bank Center. Spurs gave OKC belt on our home court. Turned around 2 days later, gave them belt on their home court. Guess what the Spurs' task is right now?
Same reverse. Oh, same thing
It's
actually.
the same. It's the same thing, and I'm going to be there for Game 6. So that's my copium right now. But it this team doesn't lose back-to-back games, and yet if the Spurs want to win the series, regardless of if they won last night, they have to win back-to-back games. Or they would have to win back-to-back games to win this series. It's just a fact of the matter, and that's partially why I don't see OKC losing this series. Just even to start out with is because they don't lose back-to-back games. That's just who they are, and yeah, it's as simple as that. I've avoided it for as long as I can talk. I can talk as long as I could talk about the teams, but man, I'm tired of seeing Tony Brothers. Man, I really am. I'm sick and tired of this guy being in the league. I don't understand how he has a job. He's really one of the worst officials out there. I think everybody can agree with that. That you see Tony Brothers on the sheet to call your game, you let out a sigh, if you know what I mean. And it's the same feeling like Chris Paul gets about Scott Foster, I'm sure. But man, last night was awful. I know like it wasn't all Tony, but it was his crew, and it was just bad. From the missed goaltend, from the inconsistency and physicality allowed between the teams, from the missed challenge, which I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you missed the call on the court. I mean, Chet is wearing these bright ass orange shoes, and the ball clearly goes off his foot. Like Wimby's wearing black shoes, if I remember correctly. How do you confuse the two? Like, how do you think Wimby kicked the ball when it's off Chet's bright ass orange shoes? Beats me. But not only do they miss the call, but they don't allow Mitch Johnson to call a challenge when he's very clearly calling a challenge before the ball was inbounded. Then they tee him up to make it even worse. That's uh, Shea got fouled on the other end. Uh, when you add in the missed goaltend, that's a 5 point swing in what was a 10 point game going into the fourth quarter. And it's always been something I believe. It's always something that a lot of basketball fans believe. But the way you end quarters is so important to winning basketball. And I could tell the Spurs were in for a bad night last night whenever they ended the first quarter as poorly as they did. But it felt like they had their shot for redemption there in the third. They looked like they were going on a run, and at the right time when it was in crunch time. But Tony Brothers single handedly kept it at a 10 point game with his poor officiating. And then the very next trip up the court, just very blatantly off Isaiah Hartenstein's hands. I don't know how you missed that call. I don't know how none of the 3 refs on the court saw that. But that's just pure incompetence. And I'd like the league to like start taking action against officials. Like maybe don't schedule these guys for games. Hear me out. Don't give them any future games, especially with OKC if they're officiating this bad. Uh, it's just a ridiculous swing there. Obviously, you can't blame that for the loss. The Spurs had plenty of chances to take momentum, and yet they didn't. But that felt like a really big missed opportunity. That whole stretch right there. And Stephon Castles had some things to say after that I agree with, and that's the physicality allowed between these teams simply isn't the same. It's like the Thunder are getting by without fouling off reputation right now. It is a lot of reputation based defending, and I feel like that's people's biggest complaint with the Thunder is how like Draymond gets away with some things, right? Or like I don't know how to explain it. Better defenders get away with more hacks. It's like OKC gets allotted to play physical, but the Spurs don't, and that's my issue. Is if you're gonna call the game tight, call it tight. But if don't like call it tight both ways. That's my issue. If you're gonna call OKC, if you're gonna call the Spurs for all these touch fouls, call it the other way. Call it when Caruso or Casey Wallace are holding Stephon Castle's hand up the court. Call it. We saw it last year's playoffs. We've seen it in these. It is one sided officiating, and that granted that is not why OKC is winning, but it helps them. In a team like this doesn't need help. I think we can admit that they are one of the best teams of all time. I think they are a super team in every aspect of the book, especially when healthy. When AJ Mitchell and J Dub are playing, it it's just ridiculous what I saw last night. And OKC doesn't need it. The league doesn't need it. It's bad for narratives, and I hate that I'm having to talk about it. I hate that I see that's all I saw on the timeline after last night's game, because it should be Spurs slander. It really should be Spurs slander. They played terrible last night. I'm the first one to admit that they played awful. They did not deserve that win. But here we are talking about the officials because man, that was just a rough watch last night. So at the end of the day, shout out to OKC. They played out of their minds last night. They've been playing out of their minds this whole series. Uh, let's hope the Spurs can win in San Antonio. I think it'd be awesome if this series goes 7 games. I think it will have really lived up to every bit of the hype if it goes 7 games. And I don't know. We'll see. I don't really want to see the Thunder celebrate a finals appearance, a finals berth in my building, especially when I'm there. And I hope the Spurs feel the same way. I hope Wimby takes this to heart. We saw he didn't talk to the media. I hope he takes this to heart. I hope he remembers every bucket, every missed shot from last night. Like every missed block opportunity. Like it felt like defensively, Wimby looked tired. He looked exhausted on the court, and that's just he has to play every minute for the Spurs to win. That's just a fact of the matter, and he has to play better. There's no beating around the bush. He has to be better. De'Aaron Fox has to be better. I hope they both internalize it. I hope they both realize that if they lose the next game, that means the Thunder are going to the finals on our home court. And I can live with losing in Game 7. I can't live with losing in Game 6. They got to take this personally. They really have to take this personally. We cannot be nonchalant about this. We cannot not care. It's okay to care, and they should care. They should take this personally. They should listen to social media. Like literally, a lot of people say lock in, don't listen to what social media says. Listen to what social media says. Internalize it. Take it personally. Make it it. It is personal at some point. They're calling you losers because you play like losers, and if you want to be better, you have to be better. That's just the bottom line. I feel like I'm going in circles, but it is so frustrating because I felt at so many times last night the Spurs we weren't playing Spurs basketball. We weren't playing like a desperate team. We weren't playing like our backs were up against the wall. And that's the exact fight that OKC played with, and that's why they won the game. Simple as that. Nothing?
Wait, you had a 30-minute rant there.
Sorry. I really had to get that off my chest. It was brewing. It was brewing.
I think my only notes really are a lot of them stems from Victor Wembanyama, and a lot of people say that role players can win you a game in the playoffs, but your star players, your superstar players, in this case in Wemby, win you the series. And what I saw from Wemby last night wasn't convincing enough to tell me that they can win this series. Not that I thought that they were going to win in the first place. I thought the Thunder were going to win in 7. Um, And for me, it's almost like Wemby just you talked about it. He doesn't have a great face-up game in the post. He doesn't have a go-to move. And I saw LaMarcus Aldridge talk about this with, I believe it was Matt Barnes, where he said that Aldridge made his money by having a move that he can go to in the first 5 minutes of the game, the first 5 seconds, the first position, or it's a move that can win you the game. Wemby doesn't have that yet, so he kind of has to. Hopefully, after the series in the offseason, his next step is to break down the steps that he's learned so far in the NBA, and like put it in fundamentals. Because it seems like he's, I don't want to say he skipped over the fundamentals, but it's almost like he skipped to stardom. And there's a couple steps that he missed. One of them being he doesn't have a go-to move. It feels like a lot of the times he's trying to play fluid. He's trying to play with the game, but he can't necessarily take over the game with a single move or a single shot that can just put a team in the ground. He can go on an AO run by himself in the post or anything like that. He doesn't have that. And I think a lot of that showed last night where he kind of tried to take a lot of threes, a lot of mid ranges off the dribble, kind of these things that you're not going to win a game with, especially in OKC on the road in game five, a must win. Um, so I think he really has to fundamentalize like all that kind of stuff and just get a go-to move. Because once he gets a go-to move to score, like LaMarcus Aldridge said with Matt Barnes in that podcast, if he gets a go-to move that he can pull off in the first possession of the game or the last possession or anything in between, it's over. And he's not there yet, and that really showed last night. And then another point is if the Spurs, obviously Darren Fox, Dylan Harper banged up and all this kind of stuff, but if you can't beat the Thunder without two of their most important players, in AJ Mitchell and J Dub, when they come back for game six or possibly game seven, where's your confidence going to be when you have to play them too? And how does your scheme change? Obviously, Mitch Johnson's a great coach, but how does your scheme change? And now you have to adjust a lot more for a winner go home situation for these next two games. So that was a big thing. And then on OKC side, yeah, we saw remnants of Shea being that all elite NBA scorer and the best in the world, but he only scored 32, which it's not the most we've seen from him in a playoff series or anything in his career. And now he has 2 games to win one, which when you're talking about Shea, who is arguably best in the world, at least top two, you got to put your money on the fact that he's going to score at least 35 in one of these two and close it out. So for me, the Spurs, it almost feels like they're playing for pride in a sense, kind of like how you can't lose game six on your home court. That's an absolute must. But even if you win the game, it's kind of like you're delaying the inevitable where OKC goes back home. They know that they can win. They have all the confidence in the world. And maybe you shock the world. Maybe you absolutely surprise the world and you win game seven, you go to NBA finals. But all roads lead in OKC in the finals against New York. And that's just where I'm at. It just doesn't feel inspiring for the Spurs right now. It doesn't feel great. And like you said, the officiating, we should never judge the officiating for stuff like that. But it's obvious and blatant that you cannot ignore that in that game last night. While we should also be talking about how bad the Spurs were as a team. So it's a lot of things, a lot of negative things around the Spurs. I'm interested to see how a team this young with this core responds to all this adversity online, internally, externally, in the arena. How do they respond going into game six on their home court now? See how they flip a trigger, especially with you in tennis. Maybe you make a difference, like you said. How
Hey, Jordan Poole effect. Jordan Poole effect.
Jordan Poole effect, or you might have the I don't know the Travis Kelce effect. We'll see.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But I agree with a lot of what you said. Sorry, I know we want to wrap up. We're running long. My vocal cords are fried. But I agree with
Yeah,
a lot of
hold
what you're
on, real
saying.
quick. I'm gonna name this episode Zach DeRozan's breakdown of Game 5.
Yeah,
All right,
yeah,
go ahead,
yeah. Let's just,
continue.
okay. Uh, I agree with what you're saying. I've seen a lot of Spurs fans talk about Wemby not having a real face-up game, and funny enough that you mentioned Matt Barnes and the LaMarcus Aldridge that clip, that episode. But a lot of Spurs fans are like, man, if Wemby can get one summer in the gym with LaMarcus Aldridge, it'd change his
Bro,
life.
real.
Like, I do think that would be awesome. I don't love when he falls in love with the mid range, but if you can learn some post moves from LA, like that would be amazing. If you could learn anything from LA, that'd be awesome. Like, I feel like we've already seen him employ what he's learned from getting in the gym with Hakeem he might be the first hooper to like really learn from Hakeem after seeing what Alfred Şengün did in the playoffs. But he internalizes what he learns, and I think this summer could be huge in terms of that. Obviously, you want him to rest a lot. He's playing his absolute ass off. He's playing to his wits end. So I do hope he rests up a lot this summer compared to last. But yeah, I agree with that there. Uh, you talked about Shea not having his best performance, and he's still at 32, which seems crazy, but made me think of that one clip where he's like, "Yeah, I used to think it was amazing to get 30. Now I look at it as a bad game if I get 30."
Yeah, bro. It's
Sorry,
insane to me.
I thought about that and I started laughing in my head. But like you said, you know, Shea will have his way at some point. He will have his game. He will have his moment, and that's what great players do. And great players dictate the pace of the game. They dictate the flow of the game. That's what I felt from Wemby in Game 4 when our backs were against the wall, needing a win at home. And I hope that's what we see in Game 6 because that's not at all what happened in Game 5. Wemby kind of let the game dictate him, and that's just not what star players do. It's not what all-time great players do. I'm not saying that Wemby isn't a star, isn't an all-time great because of that. But I'm saying I need to see something from him in Game 6, a mentality, a paint presence, just something, anything.
Yeah,
And like you said, they're very much playing for pride, winning Game 6, but or trying to win Game 6. But anything can happen in a Game 7. We've beat them on their home court with AJ Mitchell and J Dub, so I wouldn't count them out by any means, but if they somehow win this series, I think it would be one of the greatest feats in sports history, considering how bad the talent discrepancy is here. Like I don't want to talk down too much on my own team, but it, it's it's night and day when you look at the rosters. It is night and day. One team has the best player in the world, and everybody else, the other team has the best players in the world, if that makes sense. The best
yeah,
team in the world. So we'll see who comes out on top. If it comes down to a one game scenario, anything can happen. But like you said, got to play for pride at home. You cannot lose on home court. Great, like it's just another message to Wimby. Like all time great players, when they have their backs against the wall, going home, they have something, and I need to see something from Wimby in Game 6. I really do. This is I don't want to say legacy game. I feel like that term gets thrown around too much. It should not be used even for like this early in Wimby's career. This is his first real playoff run. This most of our team's first real playoff run, and it just feels like it is a moment where we need to see Victor Wembanyama dictate the game. Say, I'm not going to let you win on my home court in front of my fans, in front of my city, and take over the game. So we'll see. We'll see.
yeah. I'm excited. We'll be here back on Friday, either talking about a preview of the Thunder and Knicks NBA Finals matchup, or we'll be previewing a Game 7 between the Thunder and the Spurs. Whichever way it goes, I'm excited. Zach will be there tomorrow. We'll see if we can get some content for him inside the arena tomorrow. Um, Final thoughts? I usually gave your final thoughts. I'm stupid.
Yeah,
But
basically.
yeah, we'll be back on Friday talking about all that kind of stuff. I'm excited. Um, we'll see how it goes. Hopefully, y'all enjoy it. Hopefully, you guys aren't as nervous as Zach is. Um, or hopefully, you guys don't have as many thoughts as Zach did as well. Anyways, we'll, we'll be back. We'll be back. Zach got to go rest his vocal cords. We'll be back on Friday to talk about this. Appreciate your support.